Let us understand a process and a thread in an operating system. A process is a program in execution with its own memory space. For example, when we launch any application like Google Chrome or a Visual Studio Code, an operating system creates a different process for those applications. A process is independent and isolated of each other, whereas a thread is a single lightweight unit, an executable unit inside a process, meaning a process contains different threads. A thread shares memory and has a faster execution. So, talking about the Chrome, if you launch an application like Chrome, um, uh, different threads like rendering the UI, downloading the files, or etc. can be handled with the different threads. So now let's look at the detailed comparison between the process and a thread. So looking at the definition, a process is independent program, whereas a thread is executable unit within a process. Talking about the memory, a process has a separate memory space and it is allocated by an operating system when a process is created, whereas threads shares memory space. Communication. So process communicates with each other with a mechanism called as IPC, which is inter-process communication, which involves pipes, sockets, and shared memory spaces. Whereas threads communicate with each other with shared variables. Talking about the creation cost, as a process is heavyweight, so creation of process is costlier, while l- threads are lightweight, so creation of threads is cheaper as compared to process. Now talk about the context switch. Context switch meaning an operating system switching the pages. A page is a virtual single unit of memory. So operating system spending time in swapping those pages between a RAM and an disk. That's called the context switch. So context switch is heavy in process and it's lighter in thread. Now talking about the isolation, as process have the independent memory space or separate memory space, so it's a strong crash risk, whereas a thread is a weak in a crash affects, because if one process fails it doesn't affect the another process, whereas when if one thread fails it can affect the other threads. Now the last point is the resource ownership. A process fully owns all the resources, whereas a thread shares the resources with the other threads. So these are the main difference between a process and a thread. Yeah. Thank you for watching.